Do you guys remember this game that is right now on the screen that we're all incredibly excited about, which is Marvel Tōkon by arcsystemworks? Well, in the case that you didn't know about it, this game right here is actually going to get a comic book. And we do know from a while ago that Marvel Tōkon was going to get this comic book. We already got the cover, and also the fact that many other comic books from Marvel were going to get alternative covers based on the Tōkon characters and their art style. But the thing is, we actually got new images and panels about the Tōkon comic with characters that we have not seen before in the game, and it could maybe be a hint for DLC or some sort of at least discussion or debate that we can start based on all this new info. So if you want to see more Marvel Tōkon content, don't forget to like and subscribe. And now let's get into all the new information and images. And the first image that we have to talk about is this one right here, which is a panel from the Marvel Tōkon First Strike comic. But of course, the thing that is interesting about it is that Thor is right there. This is obviously kind of like a classic, old school presentation of the Avengers, and Thor is not in the roster of the game because the 4th spot in the Avengers team in Tōkon is taken by Black Panther, and specifically Shuri as Black Panther. So is there any chance that, for example, Thor could make it a Season 1 DLC in the Marvel Tōkon roster because he's already being represented right away in the Marvel Tōkon comic? We don't know exactly, it is only a speculation, but I would personally be very happy to see Thor in the game. I think the arcsystemworks could do very interesting things with Thor as a character, and also he's a very classic, super famous Marvel character, so he would help to sell the Season 1 pack of DLC for sure. So maybe there's a case for Thor making it into the game, at least in the panel, of the comics. Everybody looks really cool. I love the classic art style and the classic Avengers kind of like portrait. So the panel is looking very nice, and the comic super clean. Then we have another panel that looks really cool in terms of visuals, and specifically it is a Storm fighting a Sentinel. And also this panel in particular to me is very interesting if you're kind of like, trying to understand the story and the narrative of Marvel Tōkon, because the more info, the more kind of like sneak peeks that we get into the game, it seems like the Sentinels are actually really important for the narrative. Like, we see them in this panel, we also see the Sentinels in the X-Men stage of the game, and they're kind of like fighting right in the X-Mansion. And then on top of that, for example, Magneto uses a Sentinel in his level 3 or Tōkon Assemble Super in the game. So like the Sentinels have appeared already a ton of different times within the context of the game and the story. So there might be a super big role of the Sentinels overall in the story mode of this game. Then we have another image or panel that is very interesting if you're trying to again connect with the story or the narrative of this game. And right here we have what it seems to look like the champion, and this like origin story of what happened with his civilization or species, because everybody on the image seems to be dead, that looks like him. And then you have all these robots kind of like on the ground. So it looks like there was some sort of war, and this could be his origin story. From what I understand, it is actually something that has been portrayed before, or there is other kind of like narratives about the champion and what happened with his people. So this is not necessarily something new in terms of narrative, but it might be a part of the game as well, and what exactly happens with his origin in the context of this game in particular. Of course, I'm not super knowledgeable on this, so if you know more about this, maybe leave me a comment with whatever exactly this specific moment in the history of the champion is. But this is very obviously super connected and related to the narrative of the story mode that Marvel Tōkon is going to have. But now we get into what is arguably the most interesting image or panel in this entire batch of new info from the comic. And this one right here has the champion and the promoter, but also Silver Surfer himself. And of course, Silver Surfer is not in the game. He's not a part of the roster. So he's going to be the second character in this new information or images that we have that is actually not present in the game alongside Thor. And the thing about this image that is very interesting to me is that it seems like Silver Surfer is talking and connecting with the promoter, and she's remembering some sort of situation in which the champion actually saved her from kind of like a war or whatever big fight that was happening. And it seems like the promoter is actually kind of like in depth with the champion. That's kind of like why I'm interpreting of this. Of course, it is only a speculation because we don't have more info about the comic. But this panel for me is very interesting. It's kind of like the most unique one. And also the fact that Silver Surfer is here is really cool, because I think that we can all understand that Thor has a really high chance of making it into the game. He's one of the most popular characters in Marvel, and on top of that, he's one of the Avengers. But Silver Surfer, we don't know if he's actually going to be DLC. So the fact that he's in the comic and he seems to be a part of the story is maybe a good hint or possibility that there is a chance that he could be DLC in the future. So these are all the panels that we got from the Marvel Tōkon comic. It is looking very interesting and kind of like, with a ton of new information about what's happening with the story. We don't know if the story of the game is going to be exactly the same one from the comic, but it is at least very cool to just take a look at all of this and understand what's going on with the narrative behind the game in some way or form. So like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and see you on the next Marvel Tōkon video. Take care.